Have you ever had the feeling of being watched? Of a presence lurking in the shadows? Let me tell you about one night that I'll never forget. The night I felt a stranger in the shadows. It was a late evening. The air was heavy with an unusual quietness as I walked home. I had this gut feeling, like something was off, but I shrugged it off as my imagination running wild. The streetlights flickered, casting long, eerie shadows that danced around me. I could hear the distant echo of my footsteps reverberating off the cold concrete. It was as if the entire world held its breath, waiting. As I continued my walk, a shiver ran down my spine. I could hear a faint rustling, like the sound of dry leaves being stepped on. Every time I turned around, there was nothing but the stillness of the night and my own echoing heartbeat. But I could feel it. Someone or something, a fleeting shadow disappearing just as I turned to look. My heart pounded in my chest as I quickened my pace, the feeling of being followed growing stronger with each passing second. The whispers of the wind seemed to carry unintelligible murmurs, amplifying my fear. I was close to home now, the familiar outline of my house emerging from the darkness, but the relief was short-lived. My heart skipped a beat when I saw it. The front door of my house slightly ajar. I was sure I had locked it before I left. I stood there frozen, staring at the open door, the safety of my home now seeming ominous. The shadows inside seemed to pulse, as if hiding something within. I pushed the door open, the creaking sound echoing in the silence of the house. My footsteps felt heavy as I stepped inside, every small sound amplified in the chilling quiet. A cold breeze swept through the house, making me shiver. I stood there in the heart of my home, feeling the weight of the silence around me. And there, in the chilling silence of my home, I realized that I was not alone. What if your own home turned into a place of terror? A place where unseen horrors lurked? Imagine that for a moment. A place where you're supposed to feel safe, to relax, to be yourself, suddenly becomes a nightmare that you can't escape from. That's exactly what happened to me. It started off subtly, so subtle that I chalked it up to my imagination running wild. Objects around my house would move on their own. I'd leave a cup on the kitchen counter, and when I'd return, it would be on the dining table. My keys would disappear from the hook by the door, only to reappear in the refrigerator. It was bizarre, but I convinced myself that I was just being forgetful. But then, things escalated. I started hearing eerie whispers in the dead of the night. Whispers that were too quiet to make out, yet loud enough to wake me from a deep sleep. They seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at the same time, like a cold wind passing through the room. And speaking of cold, there were these chilling cold spots. I'd be walking from the living room to the kitchen and suddenly it would feel like I'd stepped into a freezer. And just as suddenly the temperature would return to normal. It was like walking through an invisible wall of ice. The whispers, the cold spots, the moving objects. It was unnerving, but I still tried to rationalize it. Maybe there was a logical explanation, a draft, faulty heating, sleep deprivation. I was grasping at straws, but then one night, everything changed. I was jolted awake by a chilling scream. It sounded like it was coming from inside my house, from right outside my bedroom door. I jumped out of bed, heart pounding, and flung the door open. The hallway was empty. The house was silent, but what I saw on my bedroom door made my blood run cold. There, etched into the wood, were claw marks. 3 deep parallel lines that looked like they'd been made by something inhuman. I stood there in the eerie silence, staring at the marks as a wave of terror washed over me. I was not alone in my house. I tried to convince myself it was a trick of the light, a figment of my imagination. But the claw marks were real. I could touch them, feel the roughness of the splintered wood under my fingertips. There was something in my house, something unseen, something not of this world. In the terrifying silence that followed, I realized that whatever was in my home, it was not of this world. And that realization, that understanding of the unseen terror that lurked in my own home, was more horrifying than any ghost story or horror film, because it was real, and it was happening to me. Have you ever driven down a deserted highway at night and felt a chill run down your spine? It was one of those late nights, I was cruising down Highway 10, the only light coming from my headlights piercing the darkness. The radio was playing soft tunes, lulling the night and keeping me company. But as I went deeper into the void, the music started to crackle, the signal growing weaker. Then, out of nowhere, I saw it. A figure, standing in the middle of the road, staring straight at me. I could barely make out its shape, but its eyes. They glowed, a haunting, eerie light. I swerved, narrowly missing the figure, my heart pounding in my chest. I thought that was it. A close call, a near miss. But then, there it was again. The same figure standing a little further down the road. This time it was closer, its glowing eyes seeming to pierce through the darkness and into my very soul. I swerved again, my hands shaking on the wheel, my breath coming in ragged gasps. I tried to rationalize it, told myself it was just my tired eyes playing tricks on me. But each time I blinked, the figure was there, closer and closer. It was like a nightmarish game of cat and mouse, and I was the mouse. The climax came when the figure suddenly appeared inside my car. I could feel its cold presence, a chill spreading through the vehicle. I could see it in the rearview mirror, its eyes glowing brighter than ever. But when I turned around, there was nothing. It was like the figure had vanished into thin air. I was in a state of shock, my mind trying to comprehend what was happening. That's when I saw it. On the fogged-up window, a message had been written. It was a simple sentence, but it sent chills running down my spine. I am always with you. I slammed on the accelerator, my heart pounding, the car roaring to life. I didn't dare look back, kept my eyes on the road, praying for the first signs of civilization. I drove like a madman, the haunting message etched in my mind. The figure, the chilling message, the haunting eyes, they all seemed to echo in the darkness of Highway 10. I didn't stop until I saw the comforting lights of a town. The sign of life, a welcome sight. But even as I left Highway 10 behind, the haunting memory of that night stayed with me. The figure, the message, the eyes, they were all etched in my mind, a chilling reminder of the terror I had experienced. As I sped away, leaving the haunted Highway 10 behind, I could still see the chilling message on my window. I am always with you. Fear, they say, is a powerful emotion. But what happens when that fear comes from something unseen, unknown? We've journeyed together through 3 harrowing tales, each one a testament to the chilling reality that sometimes our worst nightmares are not products of our imagination but are grounded in the very real world we inhabit. These stories, raw and unfiltered, are reminders that there is a realm of darkness that lurks just beyond our perception. In the first tale, we were confronted by a stranger in the shadows, a presence that was felt more than seen, a chilling reminder that sometimes the most terrifying things are those that lurk unseen. The second story took us on a journey of an unseen terror, a malevolent force that stalked its prey relentlessly, leaving a trail of dread and paranoia in its wake. And finally, we navigated the haunting of Highway 10, where the spectral echoes of a long-lost traveller still linger, a chilling testament to the enduring power of fear. Each of these tales has served to reinforce the creeping dread that accompanies encounters with the unknown. They've shown us that fear can be a pervasive, lingering force, one that can change our perception of the world around us. These are not just stories but experiences that have left an indelible mark on the lives of those who lived through them. They are stark reminders that fear does not always recede with the dawn. Sometimes it clings, it lurks, it persists. So, as we part ways, remember these tales. Remember the fear they've instilled, the chill they've sent down your spine. Let them serve as a reminder that the world we live in is not always as it seems. That there are shadows, and within those shadows, terror can hide. In the end, the terror isn't in the unknown. It's in the horrifying realization that sometimes the unknown is right beside us, watching, waiting,